Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please, Mrs. Wells.
Mr. Bennington?
Here.
Mrs. Downs?
Here.
Mrs. Eubanks?
Here.
Ms. Larimer?
Here.
Mr. Pullman?
Here. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, the Board of Education welcomes you here this evening. And we want you to know that our students, our staff, our guests are important to us. And please note that there are exits behind you to your right and to your left. In the case of emergency, there's an AED located right outside these doors. At this time, we will adopt the proposed agenda, but we do have a couple changes first. Mr. Hostler?
Yes, we do have an addition in personnel for a bus driver that we would like to add. We have a desperate need for bus drivers, so we're excited to be bringing you the candidate, and with your approval, they'll be hired full-time and join the ranks. So if anybody out there is looking to become a bus driver, we're certainly willing to take applications, so there's a great need. The other, I wanted to point out just under 3.3, we have principals that will be introducing candidates that are being recommended for continuing contract, which is always an exciting evening to have that event. And just a clarification, Emily Alcroft lists her as a teacher at Toth. She is in fact a teacher at Frank. So, and Mr. Marconi will be introducing that. And Serena Moore, intervention specialist, Dr. Glesser will be introducing her. So we're excited about those. So those are no substantive changes to the actual action items. It's just clarification of where they're from and who's presenting them. So we caught that. So my apologies.
Thank you, Mr. Hostler. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Larimer?
Yes.
Mr. Bennington?
Yes.
Mrs. Downs?
Yes.
Mrs. Eubanks?
Yes.
Mr. Pullman?
Yes. Motion carries. And that takes us to item number 3, and that would be the Board of Education recognition. Mr. Hostler?
All right, thank you. So we have quite a few things that we wanted to get to. So May is always a busy time, and I think last year we got spoiled a little bit with not having all the end of the year kinds of things happening, and spoiled in a sense of not a good thing, but a bad thing, like sour spoiled. So this is
For
great.
clarifying that.
Yeah. So this is great. This is really a great thing that we're able to do and invite folks in to have this kind of recognition. So we'll begin this portion of the board meeting with the 3 high school students winning the governor's youth art exhibition. So, yep, go ahead, Ms. Kerfoot. Yep, go ahead. Yeah. Maybe say a few words about what this means and what a big deal it is. So it's very exciting.
Thank you very much. I'm Lynn Barefoot, and I teach art at Perrysburg High School. And the students that are behind me are 2 winners from the Ohio Governor's Youth Art Exhibition competition that goes on every year, except for last year. But this year, there were 6,000, believe it or not, entries into this competition. And these 2 behind me were 2 state winners. There were 300 state winners that were chosen. And I'm very proud to introduce Parker Redwine, who's a senior, and Carlos Aguero, who is a sophomore. And missing tonight is Rebecca Luce, and all 3 of these students have just performed so unbelievably throughout this whole year, which has been a challenge for everybody. I'm sure you would all agree. But their work has just been so wonderful to look at, inspiring, and obviously it was enough to really turn the heads and give them the nod in Columbus, Ohio, where their work was accepted as part of a state winners finals. And at this time, I even had Carlos and Oh, I guess Carlos did. But Parker brought along the entry, and he has it with him, winter trees, and Carlos had actually 2 entries that were accepted as winners. And then Rebecca Luz, who's not here tonight, also had an entry that was something that she created by going to the Goodwill and finding a piece of drapery and creating a fashion, photographing it and sending it in to the competition. The Perrysburg Art Department's very proud of these students, and Parker will be heading to the Center for Creative Design in Detroit, and Carlos will be a junior next year. So, yeah, thank you very much, and I would love to give them a round of applause at this time.
We have a couple of certificates for you, and I know for your program, how often do students submit and get selected?
Well, this is amazing. Every year since probably '08, we have had winners. Really unbelievable, what do I want to say, participation on the part of our students. Usually there are about 12,000 entries into the competition in the state of Ohio. This year there were, and understandably, 6,000, but nevertheless, these students were so driven to do this basically on their own, because we saw them like half the time that we normally do. So I think that it's just an incredible accomplishment for all of them. So yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Well, I'll hand these to you.
Okay.
And I don't know, Mr. Pullman, if you wanted to get a quick picture with a couple board members and.
Sure. Eric, Kelly,
Folks here.
Congratulations, gentlemen. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
You got the group, we probably need a camera.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Is the window bad? Yeah, we usually don't.
I don't.
So while they're getting their photos, I think it's important to note that the board recognizes students for a variety of reasons, but when it comes to athletics, state qualifiers are represented and brought here and recognized. For performing arts, we also have students who qualify for state competitions. They're recognized. So fine arts, this is one of those things that is equivalent of like qualifying for the state finals. It is a huge deal. So we're just so excited to be able to bring them and wish you all the best next year in Detroit and with your future next year. So we'll look forward to seeing you back again. So, for sure. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the Shining Star Award presentation to Mrs. Debbie Reddick, and we're very excited to have this opportunity. The Griffin Agency has been very supportive of recognizing outstanding staff members. So this year we did receive nominations from all across the district, all different kinds of positions. And there was one clear choice, and that was Mrs. Reddick as the 2021 Shining Star recipient. She is the school district's health aid supervisor, so the nurse that oversees everything. And this year hasn't been a very busy year for you as the head nurse for the school district. We present this award twice annually, and it really comes from those that nominate her. So I know there's a few at this time, that I know submitted the nominations, and there's a couple things here. So I'm not sure if you wanted to come up and say a few words or recognize. I'm happy to read a few of these things as you're making your way up. But Debbie is an amazing asset to the district. It absolutely goes without saying that she has been a leader for all students and staff during this time of uncertainty. She is never caught taking a break from her responsibilities, and I can vouch that also applies to the weekends and evenings, because we've had many conversations then when you're working. She's also a friendly coworker, a student caregiver, caretaker, and accepting all the responsibilities, what's going on, and just a genuine, generous nature of her unwavering dedication to serving others that is evidence that she is surely worth of the Shining Star recognition. Lori Bartek, who's here as well. Debbie has gone beyond her required duties to maintain a safe and healthy environment for all students and staff during the pandemic. And coming from a fellow nurse, that's pretty impressive. She assisted with contact tracing, worked with the Wood County Health Department, kept staff up to date, and she is constantly changing guidelines and helped with the district vaccine clinics. These tasks were completed along with taking care of all the health needs of the high school staff and students, supporting health aides at all the buildings, and training 2 new health aides and orienting new staff. So, and those are just really begin to capture what you mean to the district and all the things that you've had to do. And we've certainly been very grateful for your steady hand and taking the knowledge and experiences that you've had, not only as a healthcare worker, but also as a mom and a staff member and somebody who gets it. And we've had to rely on all of those things at the same time. So I can't think of another, a more deserving person than you. And certainly, you know, we're very grateful. So congratulations, Debbie.
Can I just say, I really feel like this is a group effort. The nurses, Lori, Crystal, Karina, Kelly, Brandy, and Sarah, my immediate supervisor, Sarah Stockwell, you, Brooke, the administrators, Mike, who was every day coming in the clinic asking, are you okay? Or I saw you were emailing at whatever time of the night or whatever. And all of the building administrators and principals and assistant principals and deans have all been great. The school counselors and the teachers and all of you. But the teachers have done something above and beyond, which I think we can all agree. There was somebody else the students and the families, they've put up with a lot. And all the phone calls we've had to make to say you can't come to school were so disheartening for all of us. And there would be tears because we had to make those phone calls. So it was a tough year, but we've really done well. I feel like we kept kids in school a long time. And I just am so thankful for such a supportive group that had it not been for all of you guys, I couldn't have done my job. So thank you.
Gretchen, you want to go up?
Oh, okay.
Do you get to chip out on pictures? Is
No,
that how that
yeah, I
goes?
just get to pass it off.
Is this good?
All right, thank you. And thank you, Debbie, again for all that you do, and I hope you feel a little more appreciated, so thank you. So next on the agenda, we have the principals introducing certified continuing contract candidates. So in the world of teachers, there's certain milestones that are experienced, you know, getting your first job and retiring, and those are big milestones. But in between there's so much that happens. And one of the things that we've been able to do in Perrysburg is attract really outstanding teachers. And the best thing that you can do to improve students' quality of their education is making sure that they have a great teacher. And we have no shortage of those kinds of teachers in Perrysburg. And professionally, there are certain things that staff does to reach a position where a principal may say, you know, this is somebody that is worthy of a continuing contract, and the staff member and the principal come together and say, this is the time to do that. So other districts, it happens and it's at the board meeting, but this is something that we pause and we bring the principals up to talk about the teacher that they're recommending for continuing contract, and then introduce the teachers. Now, given the spring and all the different kinds of duties, we get a lot of them that do attend, but there might be one or two that have other events happening this evening. But we will, we'd like to begin with Lou Marconi, who is the principal at Frank, and we'll step up, say a few words, and introduce your staff member. While he's approaching, the vote will take place later in the agenda, but we wanted to introduce those teachers being recommended.
All right, good evening, Board of Education. Mr. Hassler, thank you for allowing this opportunity. I'm speaking on behalf of Frank Elementary teacher Emily Allcroft and recommending her for continuing contract at Perrysburg Schools. Mrs. Allcroft has been with Perrysburg for 6 years and in education for 20 years. She's an exceptional educator who embodies the Perrysburg core values of being kid-centered, having an inclusive philosophy, and views each child as an individual. Within her room, she's a strong voice and advocates on their behalf. If a child demonstrates a need for additional support, whether it's academic, social, or emotional, Mrs. Allcroft is sure to get the conversation started, bringing in as many resources to help that child feel successful at school. She's intentional about choosing her activities, careful to double-check books and lessons for appropriate themes, and thoughtfully considers the various prior knowledge each child has. If something doesn't align with our core values, she's not only quick to bring it forward, but she'll present solutions and alternative in its place. With each lesson, there's consideration to the different learning styles and personalities in the room. She intuitively senses opportunities for teachable moments in kindness, sharing, and cooperation. During one game of Sparkle, Mrs. Allcroft was quick to notice a student who had been eliminated early from games on back-to-back turns, and she responded by being by his side so he didn't feel alone during the game, and then spoke with him privately afterwards to see how he was responding. She's always so considerate and mindful and capitalizes on potentially sensitive moments. She's one to go the extra mile. On a snowy day, she will literally go sledding with the kids at Side Cut. And I'm 34, but my back hurts just thinking about that, Mrs. Allcroft. Over the summer, she'll meet with former kids at ice cream, have ice cream at Oh Dear Diner. After school, she trades in her teacher shoes and she puts on a pair of sneakers, and she leads our Let Me Run program. Next year, she'll be stepping into the head teacher role at Frank Elementary, which will assist me with the day-to-day operations at Frank. We're lucky to have a teacher who embodies the mission, visions, and values of Perrysburg. I'm honored to be speaking on her behalf, and I fully support Mrs. Allcroft for a continuing contract at Perrysburg Schools. Thank you for your time.
Mrs. Allcroft, you're here, so yeah, so you don't have to say anything, but just, we'll work through that. I apologize. So Dr. Glesser is next.
Do you mind if Serena comes up
Serena
so
Moore, yeah.
everyone can see who she is? Sorry, Serena, put you on the spot. So I wanted to address the board tonight. I would like to recommend Serena Moore for a continuing contract with Perrysburg Schools. Ms. Moore has been a licensed K-12 intervention specialist since January of 2006, and this is her 6th year with Perrysburg Schools. During her first 5 years in the district, Mrs. Moore worked as an intervention specialist at Perrysburg High School, and at the start of the current school year, she graciously transitioned into a role as an intervention specialist for the Perrysburg Virtual Academy. In addition to that, following acquisition of her master's degree, Mrs. Moore completed an additional 18 hours of graduate coursework to earn her transition to work endorsement. So throughout the 2021 school year, I've worked very closely with Mrs. Moore, more so than ever before, with her working for the Perrysburg Virtual Academy. When I approached her in early August about the need for her to work with PVA, she agreed without hesitation. Given minimal notice of the change, Mrs. Moore embraced the challenge with finesse, shifting gears and adapting not only to a new position, but one within a new program for the district altogether. While many found it quite challenging to provide special education services virtually, Mrs. Moore welcomed the experience and found innovative ways to engage diverse learners across many grade levels. Throughout the 2021 school year, Mrs. Moore has exceeded my expectations. Not only has she grown tremendously as a professional, but she has set aside time to collaborate with and mentor other staff members. She has facilitated their professional growth in addition to her own. Mrs. Moore is responsive, she's efficient, and she's student-centered. She stepped in multiple times to help her colleagues, even when it resulted in an increased workload for herself. When problems or concerns have arisen, Mrs. Moore has handled them in a professional manner. She's independent and self-sufficient, yet willing to seek support when needed. She has developed positive cooperative relationships with a variety of staff members, routinely working together to ensure success for all of her students. Mrs. Moore actively listens to the perspectives and opinions of others while advocating for her students. She collaborates and communicates effectively with colleagues and parents and has demonstrated excellent rapport with her students. Mrs. Moore's contributions to PVA and the district as a whole this year have been invaluable. I've told her many times I would not have made it through this year without you. Her calm demeanor, flexibility, task-oriented approach, and clear dedication to students has been a breath of fresh air during an otherwise stressful time. Mrs. Moore is an integral part of our Perrysburg team, and I have no reservations in recommending her for a continuing contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Mrs. Moore. And next is Mr. Cooper, principal at Fort Meigs Elementary. And at the break, we'll have the teachers that are here kind of come together for a quick picture. So don't head out too quickly. So.
Good evening, everyone. The Board of Education, Mr. Hostler, Mrs. Price, all my colleagues and fans of Boards of Education meetings. I'm lucky enough here to present two great educators that I have at Fort Meigs Elementary School. One of them being Mrs. Kim Wiley, who is at her son Matthew's tennis tournament, so she was unable to join us today. Strangely enough, my children have had 4 of the candidates that are up for continuing contract. Mrs. Allcroft at all the junior high, too. Good luck with Caden for the rest of the way. So, as the principal of Fort Meigs Elementary School, I see the daily commitment that Kim Wiley makes to our young people and the district in general. Kim is positive, upbeat, and committed to the success of both our young people, both in and outside of the classroom. Kim is willing to go above and beyond for her students to be successful in any way possible. In my visits to her classroom over the past 2 years, I continually see how involved and committed her lessons are in order for their students to thrive inside of their own ability and educational needs. Her classroom is extremely focused, and students are afforded the opportunity to excel on a daily basis. Students flock to Mrs. Wiley as they know she has their best interest in mind. Further, Kim is committed to the challenging herself and to be better for our students and our district in general. An example of this is her daily check-in with her students, which allows her to fully understand what their educational needs are in the classroom and their experiences in their home lives. Outside of the classroom, Kim has been quite active in our district initiatives that have allowed her to be stretched professionally while perfecting her teaching craft. Kim has made commitments to our building leadership team, district safety committee, math curriculum committee, and is currently a key member of our district and building level CQ committees. Though Kim does not want the spotlight in her professional journeys, she is most certainly recognized by her colleagues for her efforts. This can be evidenced by being recognized by other colleagues as the district's shining star. Kim consistently pushes herself to get better and has gone forward to earn her master's degree in gifted education to further enhance her ability to allow all of our students to reach their greatest potentials. Perrysburg is lucky to have Kim Wiley, and I fully support her attainment of a continuing contract. I'm also lucky enough tonight to honor Mr. Dale Edge. I told him he had to come up, so this is what he had to do. So. I am honored to write this letter of support for Mr. Edge to attain the continuing contract status as he finishes his 15th year in education and 5th within the Perrysburg schools. Prior to coming to Perrysburg, Daryl was an educator for the Fremont City Schools, where he was awarded a continuing contract as well. Daryl is a true professional and one that is committed to the idea of using his classroom to give students the best education possible, and he most certainly thrives in his spotlight. The relationships that Daryl makes with his students truly have a lasting effect on the students and the families he serves. Students want to perform for Mr. Edge, and they are quick to participate well in his lessons, and his classroom is full of energy, excitement, and most importantly, education. Daryl has the unique ability to challenge students in a way that holds them accountable for their learning while building trust and lasting relationships. Overall, Daryl is revered by his families, and he is often one of the most requested teachers on a yearly basis. Daryl sees the whole picture and is quick to step in and assist colleagues in any way necessary. He is a true team player. He is positive, upbeat, humorous, and committed to serving our students in a way that allows them to succeed on a daily basis. Unfortunately, Daryl likes Michigan. Oh, I meant to take that out, sorry. Daryl is committed to many district initiatives and has immersed himself in our district CQ committee, which has created an environment of cultural awareness and understanding within Fort Meigs, our district, and our community. Daryl often takes the lead to present to our staff at the CQ activities that have the most positive impact on our staff, as he is respected, trusted, and admired by his colleagues. Daryl's further commitment to the district can be shown through his dedication to our DLT and being a coach for the high school. It is without hesitation that I support Mr. Edge gaining a continuing contract. I know he will continue to thrive in his roles. Thank you.
Thank you. I changed masks. Thank you. Next is Mr. Scott Best, principal at Hall Prairie. Mrs. Swanson.
Good evening, everyone. It is my honor to recommend Marcia Swanson for a continuing contract. Over the past 12 years, Marcia has taught at Toth Elementary and Hall Prairie Intermediate School, establishing herself as a capable and distinguished teacher through her strong work ethic, personalized interactions with her students, our families, and her peers. During this time, Marcia has served on numerous committees and participated in a variety of activities across the district. For example, while teaching at Toth, Marcia served as a team Toth teacher, was a blood drive and school carnival volunteer, and started an annual school-wide coffee collection and luncheon for the Toledo and Perrysburg firefighters. At HPI, Marcia has served on our advisory council, building leadership team, and gladly attended our Snooze at the Zoo and Camp Missendo student trips. I don't know why you did it gladly, but. And then she also participated as a project inventor, judge, mentor, and a Jackets Giving Back mentor. She also volunteered as a chaperone at a variety of events, including our first International Diversity Night, Movie Night, and many others. Marcia also received a PetSmart sustaining grant for her classroom pet dragon. As a community member, Marcia has taught Safety Town for the past 5 years, coached junior jackets and volley jackets, and assisted Coach Davidson with our HPI volleyball clinics. Marcia has high expectations for herself and her students. Throughout her career, Marcia has demonstrated an ability to prioritize her responsibilities, stay focused on her personal and professional goals, and ability to communicate effectively with students, parents, and staff. As a result of her hard work and dedication, desire to grow personally and professionally, and ability to work with others, Marcia has proved herself to be an invaluable member of our staff. On a personal level, Marcia is the type of teacher you want for your son or daughter. She is personable, engaging, fun, and takes the time to develop a positive relationship with each of her students and their families. As a result, Marcia is able to effectively challenge each student and others to reach their greatest potential. During my tenure at Hall Prairie, I found Marcia to be a conscientious, dedicated, thorough, and valuable member of our building team. Through my professional and personal interactions with Marcia, I am proud to recommend Marcia for a continuing contract.
Thank you. Mr. Christie?
Good evening. When we first came into the meeting tonight, Mr. Marconi sent a text saying, you know, what am I supposed to do with this? What am I supposed to say? And he thought I had experience with this. And this is my 4th year here as principal in Perrysburg, and this is the first time I've actually been up to recommend actually 3 staff members for continuing contract. And it's my honor and pleasure to recommend Joel Hamilton for a continuing contract. He's been in music education for 17 years. He earned his bachelor's degree in music education from Morehead State University in Kentucky, his master's degree in music education from BGSU. He is a member of the Ohio Music Education Association and National Association for Music Education. The first 5 years of his career were spent at Newport Grammar School in Newport, Tennessee, teaching K-8 general music. From there, he came back to Perrysburg in 2009. He has been actively involved in promoting the choral programs at the high school, junior high, and also HPI, and throughout the Perrysburg community and Northwest Ohio region. While at PHS, Joel planned and organized community performances for Harrison Rally Day celebrations, local nursing homes, community holiday events, and many other local events as well. He was the musical director for many shows while at PHS. At the high school, he took his students in ensembles to OMEA educated events such as solo and ensemble and large group contests. While at those events, his students in ensembles earned superior and excellent ratings regularly. During his tenure at the high school, he also planned and organized the annual Showcase of Talent, as well as the first ever competitive show choir at the high school. Since moving to the junior high, he has continued to foster students' love of music through his choral classroom in many ways. Whether it is the annual solo and ensemble event hosted every March at PJHS, directing music for the annual musical, or co-directing the award-winning Golden Jacket Show Choir for the junior high. I can tell you there's not many junior highs around when you see with show choirs like we have, and that's a lot to Joel's credit. One of his most recent additions was the Evening Love, a fundraiser that many of you may have been able to witness. He has co-directed the annual event alongside his choral colleagues since 2018. Also, one thing that's not on here was when I went to Joel this year and said, Joel, you're going to have a lunch duty as part of your duty. Most educators would look at that and say, oh, that is the worst duty you could possibly get. He took it, and now our Fridays are basically a sing-along Friday with him leading it with karaoke in the lunchroom. I'm not joining in because I don't have a voice like he does, but it's amazing what that has done for our students' morale, and he's taken it to another level with being able to work with kids. Although he's heavily involved with many aspects of teaching, he has not let that stop him from becoming involved in the community as well. He has spent a lot of time in various communities, including SWAT, or committees, building level committees, and most recently the Wellness Committee and the Auditorium Manager at the junior high. I'm honored to recommend Joel for a continuing contract. Next up is Mr. Marshall. The reason I'm recommending Mr. Marshall, and it's my honor, is because he has Mr. Cooper's child in his classroom this year. Actually, outstanding kids. Ben earned his undergraduate degree from BGSU with a master's, or with magna cum laude honors in the spring of 2012. He started out as a long-term sub at the high school. During that spring, he was also assistant coach for the Perrysburg Rugby Club. His first permanent position was at Canal Winchester down in the Columbus area for 2 years and coached for another high school-aged boys rugby club. He moved back to Northwest Ohio and taught physical science and geology for 3 years at Bowling Green High School. At Bowling Green, he also coached junior high football, and actually in 2017 came back to his alma mater. Could not wait to be back here. He has been teaching 8th grade science since then. He also has been coaching junior high football and became the 7th grade head football coach in 2018. He has been representative of the PEA from 2018 to 2020. In 2020, he earned his master's degree in integrated curriculum from BGSU. While at Perrysburg, he has led several professional development sessions to support colleagues trying incorporating some pedagogical techniques he has learned throughout his career on modeling teaching. It has been very effective, and many of our teachers have now implemented that within their classrooms. Specifically, he's helped the colleagues using this instruction and has influenced them to continue to use also standards-based grading at higher grade levels as well. He strives to be a teacher by helping other teachers use methods that work, getting all students to achieve their greatest potential. He continually reflects on his teaching and is willing to apply new teaching strategies in the classroom. His teaching style requires students to use critical thinking skills and to be able to apply science to real-world situations. And I'm honored to recommend Ben for a continuing contract. Lastly, Tiffany Townsend. It is my honor also to recommend Tiffany Townsend for a continuing contract, and having a daughter who struggled with math. Having Mrs. Townsend as a teacher was refreshing for her, and she still, even as a sophomore at the high school now, continues to talk about the impact that Mrs. Townsend had on her. She has been teaching for 22 years. She taught at Sylvania Northwood School from 1998 to 2004, where at that time she earned tenure from there. After that, because her daughter was born with a chromosomal deletion that caused multiple special needs, she taught online at the Ohio Virtual Academy for 7 years. She was excited to return to the classroom, and she was hired in Perrysburg 8 years ago. In addition to her bachelor's degree from BGSU, she earned her master's degree from the University of Toledo in 2000. And has taken over 30 hours of postgraduate work. She prides herself on always trying to improve her craft and learn new things about education. In her 8 years at Perrysburg, she has been involved in many aspects in the building, district, and community. At the junior high, she was the math counts coach for 3 years. She started and facilitated the ROCKS mentoring program for girls with Ali Latella, one of our other teachers, last year. She is the math department chair and has been this for the last 6 years. She is also a member of our building leadership team and earned the American Legion Teacher of the Year Award in 2019. At the district level, she is a member of the district math committee, along with other teachers where they shape decisions involving math education of our students. In the community, she has been active in levy campaigning and attends many of the junior high and high school events, such as sports, choir shows, concerts, quiz bowl competitions, band and orchestra concerts. Her support for her students goes well beyond the classroom. The two qualities above all else that make Tiffany an excellent teacher are the dedication she has to the art of teaching and the love that she has for her students. She loves her students like they're her own and cares about them deeply. She strives to be exactly the teacher each and every one of us want them and needs. I am honored to recommend Tiffany Townsend for a continuing contract. Thank you.
Congratulations. Mr. DeColius, Dr. Short.
We're often mistaken for being the same person. Before I introduce Joy Wagner, who is actually not here tonight, I just wanted to recognize Debbie and everything that she's done. The Shining Star Award is a small token for everything that you do for our district. And for me, she says I come in quite often to her office and say, "How are you doing?" But she often comes into my office and says, "Can I check your blood pressure?" So I appreciate that, and I think Susie might too, so thank you. It's my pleasure to recommend Joy Wagner for continuing contract with Perrysburg Schools. Joy's actually at home. Today was her first day back from maternity leave, and I think she's probably pretty tired, but I know she's home watching this. And Joy, I just want to tell you how much I value you as a teacher. Joy came to us in 2014 at the last minute. We had a resignation on July 10th, the last day allowable by ORC, and we were scratching our heads. wondering how were we going to replace somebody with 2.5 weeks before school started. And Joy walked in, and her name reflected what we felt. It was a joy to work with her. It's been a joy to work with her. I regret not being able to carry that further, but I'm not going to. Joy came in and started teaching freshman English as well as seniors, which is a huge gap to work with. And in 2018, I believe it was, we began changing the senior English curriculum, and she was integral in that application. We also were struggling a little bit with our yearbook. We were having some problems financially with it. She brought it back to solvency and then some, and has reinvigorated a program and revitalized a program that really needed that shot in the arm, and she gave it to us and really brought a love of chronicling the year to the students and gave them a sense of the value in what a yearbook means down the road. They don't always see that the years that they're here, but looking back on it, it becomes a treasure for them. And Joy brought that back to the school and the class, and we really appreciate that. I highly recommend Joy Wagner for a continuing contract with Perrysburg Schools. Thank you.
And thanks to all of you for taking the time to be here to share that, because as Mr. Christie said, it is a special event, and it's the board is making a long-term commitment to these teachers, and I think it's important for the board and certainly the community to get a sense of what they're getting and what that commitment is about. So we're very excited about this class. So excellent. Next on the agenda, we wanted to say thank you to Representative Gambari, who's here, and I know if you wanted to step up and if you wanted to say a few words, but I'm going to say a few things about you, so you might want to be able to say some things back. I don't know. So, but we normally talk about the state, and we normally talk about the state's doing this and the state's doing that. So when we have a representative who takes a keen interest in what's happening in our schools, and someone who is looking to find out more about funding and really doing the homework, Representative Gambari was very much engaged in that process at the end of last year. As you know, the House was passing House Bill 305, which was a new funding formula, and it was something that I was testifying before one of his committees, asked great questions, followed up, and was really a student trying to figure out what can we do differently and better for the students and families in Perrysburg. And so that bill passed the House, I think it was 89-7, and went on to the Senate and is kind of stalled there. But Representative Gambari continues to call, follow up, advocate, and you know, we're grateful for that, because it's easy to talk about when things don't go right, but when you have someone that is responsive and someone who's interested in trying to make a difference and supporting the efforts, you know, that are of interest to the district, we just want to take a moment to say thank you for all that you do. So we're grateful for what you've done. So thank you.
Well, Mr. Superintendent, Mr. Board President, and members of the board, it's certainly great to join you all today. This is the first time I've been to one of your board meetings, but thanks to technology, you can always catch them online. So greetings to everyone watching online as well. If I may, Mr. Superintendent and Mr. Board President, I would like to just have a personal point of privilege, if that's okay with you, sir.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Dr. Short, if you wouldn't mind stepping up, please. Here, right? So when I was heading out the door to come over here this evening, actually, our son Jack asked where I was going in a polo shirt and jeans as I was getting on the motorcycle, and I said, I'm trying to channel my inner Dr. Short, because, you know, from time to time you could see Dr. Short at one time riding around Perrysburg on his motorcycle scooter there as well. So sorry to hear that you sold that. I thought we could go for a ride after the meeting tonight, but
It would have been outmatched. I'm telling you.
Turning serious here for a moment, I have a commendation that I would like to present to you, Dr. Short. This is a commendation on behalf of the Ohio House of Representatives. So I'd just like to share with everyone the content of this and read this onto the record, if I may. On behalf of the members of the House of Representatives of the 134th General Assembly of Ohio, we are pleased to extend special recognition to Dr. Michael Short on the occasion of your retirement after 17 years as principal of Perrysburg High School. You are to be commended for throughout your illustrious tenure in the field of education, you have completed an array of challenging duties with genuine distinction, proving yourself to be a tireless champion of scholastic excellence and a top-notch administrator. Commencing your career as an English teacher and a video instructor at Springfield High School, you served as a principal at Stryker Elementary School and as an assistant principal at Bedford High School before joining Perrysburg High School 17 years ago. And in all of your endeavors, you have enthusiastically demonstrated your profound commitment to helping students excel. Without question, you have been one of Ohio's most precious assets, and clearly, few can rival the depth and duration of your allegiance to education. You have inspired trust and confidence by motivating students and faculty alike to set ambitious goals and high standards for themselves. And in the wake of your departure, you can be assured that your numerous contributions will not be forgotten, and that your fine character, keen intellect, and decisive leadership will be sorely missed. Thus, with great pleasure, we pay tribute to you on your retirement and wish you the best in the years to come. Signed, Speaker of the House, Robert R. Cupp, and myself as your state representative. So congratulations, Dr. Short.
And that leads us to the next, that kicks off our next agenda item, the retirement of Perrysburg High School Principal, Dr. Michael Short. So we have a special announcement from Mr. Jeff Abke.
Well, thank you to the board and Mr. Hostler and everybody involved for giving me the chance to put my Alumni Association hat, or actually literally shirt, on, as the case may be, for this recognition. 155 years ago, in 1866, when 3 students, all of whom were young ladies, by the way, became the first graduates of Perrysburg High School, the Perrysburg Alumni Association was officially formed. Since then, we've added a few graduates yearly, more than 3, and our record right now tops, or after this weekend, we will go over 16,000 graduates of record after the commencement ceremonies this weekend. Now, I'm proud to count myself among this distinguished group of individuals. We have somebody who's managed in the World Series. We have somebody who's won an Olympic gold medal in these ranks, written New York Times bestsellers, performed on Broadway, been nominated for Emmy Awards, become teachers, like a couple that have been introduced tonight already. Some have even become school board members, right, Kelly? Some have become directors of development and HR directors and other places. So all of these wonderful individuals have helped us achieve our belief that once a jacket, you're always a jacket. These aren't just words, because we do want our jackets to know that they are always welcome back here. But more importantly, they know that there are other yellow jackets, maybe even a hive, if you will, out there that will help when they need help. And in return, it is expected that they will do the same for others. So Mike, during your 17 years leading the high school, you've certainly helped build that culture by living those ideals yourself and always being welcoming and reaching a hand to help others. You don't need this to be a jacket. You are one. But we wanted to make it official tonight by inducting you into the Perrysburg Alumni Association. got some golf in your future, so maybe you can wear that on the golf course.
I'm hoping so, yes.
And I will have you know that there are only 2 other non-graduates who are members of this illustrious group, one of whom is Ray Pullman, and his much better half, Kim Pullman. We inducted them when Ray retired, so.
Good company.
Yeah. So thank you, Mike, for everything. So the second part of why I'm up here isn't directly related to Mike, but Mike certainly had a role and will continue to have a role in this. The Perrysburg School, when I reached out to Mike, this has been several months ago now, and said, you know, Mike, there's going to be people who want to recognize you and honor you. Now putting my foundation hat back on. You know, what would you want your legacy to be? And he said, you know, it's not just me. It's the hundreds of teachers and educators, and not just teachers, staff members, anybody who works in the school that are here now and have come before him. He said, what can we do to make sure everybody who has been part of this special place is recognized? And so we chatted a little bit more, and we talked about some of the we're going to dub Our Teachers Rock Fund. And this is to recognize not just Mike, but any of our teachers. You know, Lynn, who is retiring this year, certainly would fit into that category as well. You know, those that want to honor the great teachers we have here and have had throughout generations. And so this fund, again, Mike's playing a role, and wanted to make sure he pushed the limelight out a little bit too. Will go to help with professional development for teachers. You know, what better way to help our students than to help our teachers become the best that they can be. So we're going to use this tonight to kind of officially, unofficially kick off the Our Teachers Rock fund within the Perrysburg Schools Foundation. And you can certainly find out lots of information about how to be involved with that on perrysburgschoolsfoundation.org. We even have a fun text to give option where you can text Teachers Rock to 91999 and learn more about that. So Mike, thank you, and thanks for the idea and helping us kick this off. So thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. And our state senator, Teresa Gavarone, could not join us this evening. In fact, she was the vice chair of a hearing that was taking place as I left Columbus today. So, however, we do have a proclamation that she asked me to share, and it's honoring Dr. Michael Short on your years of service. On behalf of the members of the Senate of the 134th General Assembly of Ohio, we are pleased to pay tribute to Dr. Michael Short on your exemplary service as principal at Perrysburg High School. During your 17-year tenure as a valued administrator at Perrysburg High School, you have brought to your position a wealth of experience that is underscored by unwavering dedication, the utmost efficiency and competence, and admirable integrity. Time and again, you have displayed genuine commitment to attaining your goals in a skillful and professional manner, and your record of excellence will remain an example for others to emulate. The enthusiasm and expertise you have shown in your endeavors have earned you the respect and admiration of all those with whom you've had association. Indeed, you have the satisfaction of knowing that your steadfast advocacy for tomorrow's leaders will stand as a hallmark to which future administrators can aspire. Thus, with sincere pride, we commend you and your service to Perrysburg Schools and salute you as a fine Ohioan. Signed, Senator Matt Huffman, President of the Ohio Senate, and Senator Teresa Gavarone. So congratulations, Mike. A little bit closer to home, our mayor, Tom Mackin.
Thank you. Good evening. Board President, members of the board, Superintendent. Good evening. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak today. I speak here on behalf of the city, and as I do that, I want to make sure I recognize Barry Van Hoosen, a graduate of the board, who also is probably instrumental into why we're here today in hiring Dr. Short. So I want to recognize Barry, who was here earlier today. Mr. President, not because I'm the mayor, but because I got a phone call from Debbie's team and was essentially grounded for 2 weeks. I'd like a quick point of personal preference to point out 3 things. First, to all the teachers and principals, thank you very much. I know all of you had a long list of accomplishments, and being married to a teacher from across the river at the other school, I know that those lists are 3 times as long as what was read. So thank you for what you do, and not just that those accomplishments are something that's worth recognizing, but you do them every day for the students of this community and your passion for teaching. So thank you very much. I'd also like to thank the school board and the superintendent and his team. You all know there's been a lot of things going on this year. There's been some need for the city and the school to collaborate, and there's a really great working relationship that's built on trust, professionalism, and knowing that we're all working for the best interests of the community. So I want to thank Tom and his team and the board and recognize how important that is to making Perrysburg a great place to live. Now, as the mayor, I have some subjective reasons why I think people love Perrysburg and why they think it's going in the right direction. I think most people, when we did the survey, actually, as part of our development of a land use plan, objectively, they all said the schools. And as you're here today, and you all know this, the community is a great place to live, raise a family. I raised my family here, and they survived Dr. Short. It's because of the schools. Everybody says that first. So I do want to recognize that to you. Now to why we're here, to recognize Dr. Short. We have a proclamation from the city as well. And usually I try and shorten it up a little bit, but there's a lot that he accomplished, so I think it's worth reading. Tonight, the city of Perrysburg wishes to recognize and congratulate Dr. Short on his retirement. Dr. Short has been a tremendous and positive impact on the lives of many young scholars, student athletes, teachers, administrators by instilling in them the importance of education, teamwork, discipline, and attitude. Dr. Short has been an enthusiastic and devoted principal at Perrysburg High School for the last 17 years and served as an excellent example to colleagues, teachers, and administrators alike, inspiring them all with tireless advocacy for the best interests of students and the future of Perrysburg High School. Dr. Short is most proud of Perrysburg High School receiving the prestigious, coveted National Blue Ribbon School Program designation 2014. One of the things he's also very proud of is being recognized, the school being recognized for the Golden Megaphone finalist by the Ohio Athletic Association, and a Positive Spirit Group 5 times now, which will be a tradition that will carry on for a long time once kids are allowed back to watch games. And upon his retirement, he can be proud of the tremendous impact he has had for the legacy of the schools that will continue to resonate not only within the walls of Perrysburg High School, but also within the minds of students, parents, teachers, and alumni, of which he's now a member. He has enriched our city with his service and is worthy of the esteem of all Perrysburg residents. I, Thomas G. Mackin, Mayor of the City of Perrysburg, do hereby wish to honor, commend, and thank Dr. Michael Short for his unwavering dedication to education and his 17 years of service to the Perrysburg High School, and to wish him continued success and happiness throughout his retirement. Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to begin my remarks, and I have a script because it'll be hard to kind of go through, but I wanted to begin with just saying something. Susie, Ben, and Patrick, Dr. Short's family. Being a principal, it's pretty hard to understand what that job entails. Being a high school principal is all those things and then on steroids. And Susie and Ben and Patrick, I'm sure, is watching. Thank you for sharing your dad with us, because it is that. The demands of the job and the things that you have to wrestle with, you never escape that as a family member. And so you've done a great job in allowing him to serve the way that he has, full stop, and never on to the next thing, and late nights and all the things, and missing celebrations and family events because of different school things. It really is sharing, and we're grateful that you're going to have him back full-time, maybe. But we're certainly grateful that the sacrifice that you endure as a family is notable and significant, and thank you. So it's been a pleasure of mine for the past 14 years to work closely with and to know Dr. Short. While I'm torn between the sorrow of losing him professionally and the happiness of seeing him embark on a well-deserved retirement, I'm comforted in knowing he will always just be a phone call away, unless he's golfing or woodworking or just doesn't want to talk to me. So really nothing's changed between us. Dr. Short has demonstrated his outstanding personal qualities that make him an exceptional educational leader. Some of Dr. Short's greatest strengths are his ability to identify high-quality teaching, something that I think is one of his greatest legacies, is being able to be that person who is able to coach up those teachers and hold the organization accountable to ensure that all students are achieving their greatest potential. It is not an accident that Perrysburg High School was named a National Blue Ribbon School in 2014, and during the evaluation that year, Dr. Short sat down, flung the certificate at me, and said, "I think we're done here." With his trained focus on the classroom and efficient care, Perrysburg High School is among the very best in our state and the nation, according to the U.S. News and World Report Best High School Ratings, which measures student performance and preparation for college. It's no doubt in large part to Dr. Short's leadership that Perrysburg Schools is a destination district in Ohio for families looking to provide their students an outstanding educational experience. Generations of Perrysburg students have benefited from his yielding commitment to all types of learners with his proven ability to improve learning conditions for all students. With each year of his tenure as principal, students, I think, slowly began to recognize that Dr. Short, as I said to a local reporter recently, has a gooey, soft middle that they're finding out about. Dr. Short demands much from himself and staff members and has qualities of compassion and empathy that personally connect him to the more than 1,700 students he serves each year. And I can attest to this with the many late-night phone calls where he is worrying about students or how their future is going to shape up, or what to do about a certain situation. It is that compassion and empathy that many people do not see and often take for granted. As a result of his efforts, our school district has steadily increased, not only inside the classroom, but also on the stage and in the field and throughout the community. And it is because of his oversight that has bred this success in this climate. Also, as a result of his efforts, our school district has seen a steady increase in its performance index score. We were one of only 28 school districts in Ohio out of the 610 awarded an overall A, and most recently, 98% graduation rate in 2020. These experiences, from working with classroom teachers to navigating the nuances of running a high-performing high school in a destination district and working with students and families through tough issues, demonstrate Dr. Short is an exceptional leader in all that he does. Most importantly, I believe that Dr. Short can be an incredible resource, not only today, but tomorrow, because he is leaving his post at the pinnacle of his career. He is a person who leads by example, sets high standards for himself, and develops an atmosphere, one in which faculty and staff members are inspired to follow his lead. Make no mistake, the role of the principal is one that requires him to hold staff and fellow administrators accountable, to communicate the mission and vision that will benefit all students and fight for his students, which he does routinely. It is a role that he does not necessarily receive many accolades or fondness at times, but it is in these conversations and battles where my respect has only grown. I can tell you that his retirement will leave a hole in our community and with me. Speaking as a superintendent for more than 21 years, Dr. Michael Short is the finest high school principal who I've had the pleasure of serving with. Watching Dr. Short through the years continue to inspire faculty, staff members, and students alike to achieve their greatest potential, there's no doubt in my mind that Perrysburg is a much better place because of him. Congratulations, Dr. Short. Colias.
Mr. Board President and Mr. Hostler and the rest of the board, thank you for giving me a chance to present this video. Although, if I remember correctly, I didn't have much of a choice. So, and before I present it, I want to take a second to say a couple of things. One, Mike, I'm going to call him Mike because that's what I always call him. His legacy on the school is sort of hard to quantify, and we've heard a lot about it. One of the things he decided to do a couple of years ago, and I don't know that it was entirely popular with everyone, was to do away with our library media center to create a STEM lab. The plaque that he was presented was created by our STEM teacher, Tom Zeems, in the STEM lab. So we thought it would be fitting to have what we presented him, or the board presented him, come from something that basically was his idea or wouldn't have come about without him. On a personal note, Mike has been a mentor to me. 8 years ago, I kind of showed up at the school and said, "Hey, can I do an internship?" And he was probably like, who is this guy? I had, yeah. And now I show up at his door and say, "Hey, I have an idea," and he's probably not going to miss that. But he's been a mentor to me the last 8 years, and without him just taking a chance on me, someone he did not know at all and could have easily just said, "No thanks," I wouldn't be here today. You know, he's going to miss me showing up to his office with some idea that he responds with, "Yeah, but have you thought about this?" He's going to miss that, but or he's not going to miss that, sorry, but I am going to miss seeing him every day and constantly learning from him and being, you know, a much better person and administrator because of it. So we've got a video for Mike. When we started, don't play it yet. When we started thinking of things to do for Mike with his retirement, we wanted to give him something that he could go back on, that he could see forever, or, you know, for a long time, the impact that he has had on individuals' lives. So we decided we would create some sort of video. And this is a 5-minute video that was created with a snippet of all the videos that were sent in. But we've got a Google Drive with all of the full videos that we're going to share with him. And we wanted to have something and create something that had a visual or a lasting way for him to understand how much of an impact he's had. Because I think a lot of times he probably forgets or doesn't even know how many people's lives he's touched and how much of an impact he's had. So I'll let the video speak for itself.
So Colias, I can play it now?
Yeah, can we turn down the lights, please, so that we can get rid of the glare and see it? Thank you. Awesome. Oh, no sound.
Of all of us in world language, thank you. Of all of us in world language, thank you so much for all that you have done.
Hi, Dr. Short. Just wanted to say thank you for all you've done for Perrysburg schools.
Hey, Mike. Congratulations on your retirement.
Hey, Dr. Short. I just wanted to say congratulations on retirement and congratulations on a truly incredible career.
Mike, I wish you and your wife the very best.
Congratulations on your retirement, Mike.
Hey, Mike. Congratulations on a well-earned retirement.
Mike and Susie, just wanted to say congratulations on retirement. Thanks for everything you've done for the school, the community, for us personally over the years.
Mike, I just wanted to say congratulations.
I do hope that you have a great life and that you don't be a stranger. Miss you.
Enjoy your retirement and especially your time with Susie.
Dr. Short, on behalf of the Board of Education, I want to thank you for your years of dedicated service to our district.
Dr. Short, congratulations on your retirement.
From the custodial staff, congratulations, Dr. Short, on your retirement. Enjoy
Hi, Mike. I just wanted to say thank you for being at the helm for 18 years.
Hey, Mike, just wanted to take a moment to say thank you for everything that you've done for me.
Hi, Dr. Short. I just wanted to take the time to thank you for everything you've done for me and other students.
Hi, Mike. Congratulations on your retirement. It certainly is well earned, and I really hope it goes well for you and your family.
Dr. Short, I want to wish you congratulations on your retirement. What an amazing career you've had. And
good luck, Dr. Short.
Thank you, Dr. Short.
Actually, we do think that pretty much sums it up. We do think you've been the best principal, and thank you for all you've done for us.
Hey, just wanted to say thank you so much for everything you've done for me and for the ASL program.
Congratulations on your retirement.
Congratulations on retirement.
Hey, Mike, it's Ann. I just wanted to wish you the best in your retirement.
Hey, boss. I just wanted to send a quick message your way and just express my gratitude, thoughts, and really admiration.
Hi, Doc. Congratulations on your retirement.
Oh, man. I cannot believe this. I just can't handle this. How is this possible? What's wrong, Mark? Our buddy. I cannot believe he's leaving us.
We'll be okay, man. We'll be okay.
I don't know. Although he'll be forever in our hearts.
Happy
retirement, Dr. Short. Happy retirement.
Board members, any comments you'd like to make to Dr. Short?
So wow, that was great, and I guess what all that I can offer up. I mean, such great thoughts from the state and the city and the school system and from the board. I can just offer a father's thank you, a parent's thank you. I've seen the influence that you've had on both of my children. One that has gone on and one that will be going on at some point here in the near future. And your way of being, your combination of a sense of humor, yet gravitas, putting truth on the table and earning that respect, has had an influence through your direct interactions with them, as well as through the tone at the top that you've put through that building and through this district. So again, on behalf of my wife and myself personally, thank you for what you've done, and best of luck.
I'd like to add to that through a grandparent's eyes. I've seen your work by listening to children in my kitchen, by listening to children in the community, and it's just your caring nature that has really made Perrysburg High School what it is. And I just so admire you, and we're very lucky to have you. When you interviewed for the position, we all walked away and said, "Oh my gosh, he really cares." It just shone through in the interview. And I would have to say, I think the idea of our Teachers Rock is a great idea, but I want to say, the kids would all say, Dr. Short rocks.
Dr. Short, we haven't had a lot of interaction over these years, but I always look forward to those high school bulletins every week, because I know they are going to end with a profound statement that you have found from obscurity, and they always make me laugh, they make me think. I hope you enjoyed the book, because it was specifically because of that. I think when it was mentioned that you are an asset to Ohio, a little jealous that Tennessee now gets to get you. As redundant as it has been said, thanks just doesn't seem enough. And with our sorrow, we know that this is a wonderful thing that you've been looking forward to, and we wish you well. And again, I agree with the video, don't be strangers. We always want you to come back.
Kelly, anything?
No, just thank you. I personally talked to you at the celebration, and while my daughter hasn't yet made it to high school and didn't have any personal experience, certainly in the community, my nephews, and congratulations, and enjoy your retirement in Tennessee.
Dr. Short, hurrahs. This is why he's not riding his bike anymore. I need to apologize one more time. I wrecked his bike. I was so excited about trying it out. He said, come on, give it a try. I put on his helmet, which is way too big. I gave it a little gas and ran right inside the school building. I apologize again, Dr. Short. But I want to thank you for helping me with the newsletters when I was athletic director. The monthly newsletters was a challenge to me because being a number guy, not a word guy, Dr. Short helped me with punctuation, grammar, commas, periods, and so forth. But I will say one thing. I know the difference between a principal and a principal. Principal, P-A-L. And that's what Dr. Short was. I watched you work with students, not just classroom material, but outside, personal material, personal troubles, staff. I watched you deal with the death of a family member, marriage problems, illness, death. People don't see that. And I've watched you deal with the community, parents alike. Thank you for that. You're a great leader. You listened, you cared, you made the tough decisions, but you had a positive direction on things. I thank you for that. And I enjoy working with you. And you developed curriculum as you spent countless number of hours putting together a schedule for teachers and the staff for all of our students to develop, as our mission statement says, their greatest potential. And the way they could do that is by offering courses that attracted them. You've had so many new courses offered in that high school. It's just a fantastic thing that you've done. I thank you for that. So the hours that you work, the weekends that you work, the evenings that you work, we thank you for the overtime, and we appreciate what you've done for this community. Thank you, Dr. Short.
Thank you for all the kind words. It's very humbling. I want to introduce my wife, Susie, with whom I hope to spend a lot more time.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask for permission to address the board and the members who are here, just for a couple quick minutes. It has not been difficult being married to Michael Short. And it's not just because marriage is difficult. I think it is for anybody who makes it to the point we have, and we've made it to 27 years. I'm not good with numbers. I never could remember our wedding date either, even when we were planning it. But it's not easy. And it's, as Tom mentioned, it's not easy being married to someone who works for a school district. And not just a school district, but Perrysburg School District. Some of you might know that Michael and I started teaching together side by side at Springfield High School. We were both English teachers, and we both taught English 11. And so for a year or so thereafter, we actually got married, and the students all claimed that they knew it way before we did, that we were heading in that direction. But there was short on the schedule for some students and short on the schedule for other students, and they didn't know who they were going to have for English that year. And it was in those early years that I saw in Michael right away the fact that although he was a great teacher of students, of young people, I really, really played Lady Macbeth and pushed him towards administration. I knew that that is where he would make the biggest impact in the whole world of education. And I think I was right. I normally am. So although he loved being in the classroom with the kids, and those of you who are in his buildings, you know he loves it more than ever.
Was my student.
Yeah, when he can come in and actually observe or interact with the kids, he loves that more than anything. And we hope to find ways for us to continue to do that in the future. But it has been difficult, and it has been difficult for the boys. I know Ben would never approach this microphone and say anything, but I will on behalf of Ben and Patrick. Many of you know, being in the public eye, and it might just be Perrysburg, Ohio, but it's still the public eye. And you still get a lot of scrutiny, and you still get a lot of people who like or don't like what you're doing. And when the boys were in middle school, I told them as they were starting to come closer and closer to the high school, I said, you are going to hear things about your father. And some of them are not going to be nice. And you have to decide ahead of time how you're going to react. You may choose to just ignore. And there might be a point where you can't ignore anymore. And you have to decide what is that tipping point. And you have to know that if you hit that tipping point and you choose to say something back or worse, throw a punch, whatever it might be, there will be ramifications. And we're not going to protect you from those. But that will be your choice. And so the boys growing up always knew that it wasn't going to be always happy. And they had harder rules maybe than some kids in the district, and that's okay too, because they grew up to be really great kids. And I don't regret any of that. So when Tom says thank you to us as a family, I just have to say thank you to you as a community. You made us what we are, a working partnership who love education and both deal with education every day of our lives. You've made him the father he is to our boys, and you guys have all made him the leader that he has been able to be to Perrysburg. So thank you for all of that on our behalf.
When I was considering taking this, or interviewing for this position 17 years ago, I was an assistant principal at Bedford High School, and I enjoyed an awful lot of anonymity in Perrysburg, being 30 minutes away. And Susie said, we're going to lose that. And she said, I don't mind that, that's fine. But she said, realize that it's going to be a lot more work. When you're home, I need you to be home. And I've not always done that well, and for that I apologize. I believe that this whole evening has been very humbling. And Carlos, I'm sorry you had to sit through all this. I think, Tom, you're right, where I look at the teachers that we've brought into the district during the last 17 years. Marjo said his son had 4 of the teachers up for continuing contracts. I hired 4 of the teachers who were up for continuing contracts in some fashion or another. And seeing the people on the screen, just, it's very humbling. The one thing I agree with Susie completely on everything, but I want to reiterate this point. The people make the community. And from Mike Klein and his confidence in me, to Tom's trust, and the communication we're able to share together, largely through memes, but the communication we have together strengthens us. The board's support when we're facing difficult situations. I know when we talked about coming back 5 days a week, and I had a recommendation, and Sue and Gretchen both said that they were sorry they didn't listen to me that night, but they had to vote, and I certainly understand that. But I appreciate that you considered that, because a lot of principals don't get that consideration. When I work with people like Katie and Kelly and Dave, even Dave Boyce, Ray and Chuck, all of the teachers, that's what makes the community, that's what makes the school. I'm fortunate to be in the right place at the right time. The wheel keeps on turning, and Aaron Cookson will come in and he will do a remarkable job. I have no doubt of that. My family has been supportive throughout this, and they've been very understanding. As Susie alludes to, Patrick and Ben have experienced the highs and lows of being the principal's son, from getting the wings in the jacket room to being under the public scrutiny a little bit more. And I really appreciate everything that they've done. Susie has been my voice of reason, my understanding shoulder, and the person to give me a kick in the pants to say, get things moving, and you know what to do. And I couldn't have done this for 17 years without her support. I'm looking forward to our time on the golf course in Tennessee and just relaxing and enjoying each other again. Thank you all very much for the kind words tonight. Roz, Mr. Mayor, thank you so much. That means a lot to me. And I appreciate everything that's been said tonight. Thank you.
And with that, we'll take a 5-minute break. to item number 6.1 and moves right into who are you and what do you do? Mr. Hassler?
All right. Thank you. With us, we have Mrs. Sarah Jones, who is one of our school psychologists, and thank you, Sarah, for being here, and we're looking forward to hearing and learning more about what you do and who are you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, first of all, for inviting me to come today to talk a little bit about how awesome school psychology is and tell you guys a little bit about it, and then also a little bit about myself and my own role in the district. So I am Sarah Jones. I am the school psychologist at Frank Elementary and at HPI. I want to thank Mr. Marconi for letting me know that 5 minutes is a very long time. That was his pep talk before I started talking, so thank you, Mr. Marconi, even though you're not here. But this is my 15th year in the district. I've been a school psychologist for 14 years, and then I was also an intern for a year. I liked it so much that I stuck around. But I am one of 6 school psychologists in the district. We service kids from age 3 all the way up to age 22. So we have quite the spectrum. We also service our kiddos at Penta too. Okay, so the first thing about a school psychologist life and a day in the life of a school psychologist is no 2 days are the same. Every single day is different, which is part of the reason why I love this career. Everything looks different depending on what building you're in, what students you're working with, what teams you're working with. But the one thing that is the same is that we always advocate for students. That's our number one job, is to make sure that we are trying to help students be as successful as they possibly can in the classroom, whether that means working with teachers, working with staff, working with parents, and just trying to figure out how we can all work together to help make the classroom a better place for the kiddos. We also love data. Every school psychologist will tell you that they love data. We love talking data, we love looking at data, we love analyzing data, both at a building level, a classroom level, and then also an individual student level, so that we can help develop interventions for kiddos who might struggle either academically or behaviorally. We help provide additional supports for those kiddos to hopefully help get them back up to where they need to be within our what we call our response to intervention framework, just meaning that some of our kiddos require more support than others, so we help figure out what that support looks like and who would be involved with that kiddo. We also are involved in screening processes like kindergarten screening. We are involved with our crisis response. So when there is a crisis in the district, we are on district and building level crisis teams. So we are involved with that as well. A large chunk of our job relates to evaluations for special education services. That's a big chunk of what we do, both with initial evaluations, so kiddos that we suspect a disability, like again from age 3 all the way up to 22, we are required for doing those evaluations. And then every 3 years for all of our students that are in special education, we are legally required to do a reevaluation. So that is also what we are responsible for as well. We do behavior assessments where we investigate if we have kiddos that have behaviors that are going on that are impeding their learning in the classroom. We would investigate that by doing observations, talking with teachers, talking with parents, trying to figure out what is causing that behavior so that hopefully we can develop interventions that will help address what's causing that behavior to help them, again, be more successful in the classroom. We're often popping into classrooms for observations just to get eyes on kiddos, to offer suggestions for teachers, or to do that as part of the evaluation process. We also provide professional development a lot within the district, and then also participate in pretty much every committee you can possibly imagine within the district, like our building leadership teams, Jacket Way Committee, our RTI committee, and then the district leadership team as well. So that's a little bit about school psychs in general, and then a little bit more about my role specifically. I have a couple of graduate certificates, one in autism spectrum disorders and another in applied behavior analysis. So those are 2 really big passions of mine, is supporting kiddos that would benefit from those supports. I also am an adjunct professor at the University of Toledo. I just finished my 7th semester teaching within the school psychology program there, so helping train up-and-coming school psychologists. I also am an intern supervisor. As part of graduate school for school psychology, you are required to have a year-long internship within the schools. So I have my 7th intern this year. She's getting ready to leave the nest and go fly and be hopefully an amazing school psychologist, which she will be. I also, a new part of my job that is one of the more fun things, you heard Tiffany Townsend, part of what she does at the junior high is a ROCS facilitator, and I am one of the ROCS facilitators at HPI, and that stands for Ruling Our Experiences. It is an evidence-based 20-week girl empowerment program. We're in our 2nd year of implementation there at HPI. We have a 5th grade group and a 6th grade group. I run it with Liza Brown, who is the Dean of Students at HPI. And we work on things like healthy communication, how to be safe when using social media, how to deal with body image issues, how to stand up for yourself. It's an awesome program, so definitely Google it to find out more about it. It's a very cool program, so thank you. All right, so just some did you knows about school psychologists. Like I mentioned, we are required to complete 3 years of graduate school past our bachelor's, 1 year being a full year internship within the school setting before we are able to apply for our license through the State Department of Education. School psychology has consistently been rated among the top 100 best jobs by U.S. News and World Report, but there's also a very critical shortage of school psychologists there across the country, both practitioners, but then also graduate programs that train the next school psychologist. There's just a shortage of those as well. One cool thing about the school psych role is it's so different from state to state, from district to district, and even from school buildings within our own district. There are 6 of us, and like I said, every role is a little bit different depending on the needs of that building, depending on the age level, and just depending on what's going on in our buildings. So a lot of the things that we do are driven by legal timelines that really don't stop for anything, including a global pandemic. So as you can imagine, this past year has been very interesting, trying to figure out how to still meet timelines, but then also make sure that we're working for the best interest of kiddos and keeping ourselves safe and keeping the kids safe. So that has been a very challenging year, but Dr. Glesser is my supervisor, and she has been very helpful navigating this whole sea of that we never thought we'd have to navigate. So, and that's about it. I just want to say thank you for letting me come here and talk about school psychology a little bit, but also wanted to say that on a personal note, I am a parent of 2 Yellow Jackets and a 3rd coming to kindergarten next year. I just want to thank you guys so much for everything that you've done this year. My kiddos have just had a blast at school, and for how different it is and how everything changed so much, they still had a great experience, and they still are just so happy to be in school. So thank you so much for everything you guys have done.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Mr. President, I have a point of order, please.
Sure.
Did I miss it, or did we skip over agenda item number 5?
Item number 5, was that public participation?
Yeah.
I have nobody signed in, so I just.
Oh, nobody signed in, okay. Silence is golden, okay. Sorry, Tom?
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you for all you do and your team, so much appreciated. And 5 minutes did not seem that long, so I don't know what Mr. Marconi is saying.
Not after a Senate testimony, right?
Yeah. All right. So next, we were looking at, let me see if I can just pull it up here very quickly. I know there's been some news relative to the governor's health order. So I just wanted to just very quickly go through a few things. First, just within the last 24 hours, 48 hours, there's been a lot of announcements and things that have happened. So here's Governor DeWine's tweet last night in my address. I announced that they're ending the health order on June 2nd. Cases have dropped, and that's certainly, really good news. So we have not seen the full release of the health order because there's certain things that will stand and some that won't. So we're waiting as we get closer to June 2nd to find out what that means. For us, the end of the school year will have occurred by June 2nd. So this is really good news in terms of helping us plan, because we just talked about the fact that we are looking forward to next school year. And so we want to make sure that we're reviewing and planning to comply with the removal of the health orders and looking at what's happening now today. The governor indicated that schools are still required to implement face coverings through face covering policy through the rest of the school year in certain situations, and we'll talk about those. But here's a letter that was posted from Governor DeWine talking about the mask guidance for individuals who are fully vaccinated, which we do have adults and some students that are fully vaccinated, although most of those students will be graduating Sunday. But we do get into the health order here talks about safety measures and things throughout the year. So this is something that we're learning more about as we go. So, so the next several weeks, we'll be talking about the changes with the health order as we learn more about them and what it means for next school year. We're really excited about this step. It just feels like it's so exciting to hear about these changes happening, and seeing the numbers continue to fall in our district. It really puts us in great shape to really look at next school year and wanting to do the things that we all want to do. So that's really good. So right now, students are no longer required to wear masks during outdoor activities if they are engaged in physical exertion such as recess, physical education, and those things. So elementary families have been notified of this change. So that's the last couple weeks, kids can go out without the mask and enjoy and participate and do those things. But when they come back into the classroom, that close proximity, like the governor said in his communication, then we have to practice social distancing and wearing masks indoors. But that's a big step where we're doing, without the masks. So, and adults are not required to wear masks outdoor activities if they can socially distance. So those are exciting things. Just here locally, there's been drops of cases for employees and students. After the vaccines, our staff numbers have been 0, 1, very low, and that's great news for us. The CDC also has come out with some guidance that fully vaccinated people may resume activities without wearing a mask and physical distancing. So that's happening now ahead of the state. So you're starting to see people walk around without masks in the state, even though we have the health order. But the CDC has put it out there that this is the direction we're heading. So I think that's good news for all of us, for sure. And the governor is, again, coming out. We've had 0 confirmed cases since April 23rd at the elementary level. So that, again, is very good news. And we know that there's been some changes with, not changes, but just an understanding of outdoor activities and the transmission rate that goes with that. So this is something that the CDC put out. You can see here, on the right side is fully vaccinated people, walk, run, outdoors, small outdoor gatherings with vaccinated friends and family, small outdoor gatherings, fully vaccinated, unvaccinated people, dine indoors with friends, multiple households. So you can see the difference there. So that's something that the CDC has put out there, and there's a link there that you can pull up more information. But exciting, everyone's excited at the end of the school year anyway, but this is really exciting because of these changes and what it means not only for now, but planning for the future. So that's it, just a quick update, and more information will be coming, but recess, that word's already out, and between now and the next, for our seniors, just 4 more days of school, including today. That's pretty well, these changes aren't really going to impact them unless they're vaccinated, which a number are. And for our elementary students and junior high and the other students, it's 2 more weeks of school, and these changes are welcomed.
So when June 2nd comes, we're out of school.
Yes.
August comes, we're back in school.
Right.
We'll talk about it then. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I get a kick out of certainly going by the honor system, if you're vaccinated or not vaccinated. So, okay.
That was kind of my question as I was sitting here thinking about this. You can't go up to somebody who's not wearing a mask and ask them, let's say a teacher, ask a student or another person in the area if they've been vaccinated. Wouldn't that be a HIPAA violation? So
those are the kind of guidelines that we have now that will, between now and the beginning of the school year, that we'll sort out. So that's not only a Perrysburg thing, but it's something that all of us will have to wrestle with. So.
Okay.
But you're right. We want the students to be comfortable in their classrooms, and it's a personal decision if they aren't, if they're eligible. And so we don't want to make them feel awkward because that's a family decision. But at the same time, when you get into contact tracing, it's helpful that the school knows, what parents to call and which ones you don't have to call. So,
right.
And we've tried to explain that to families. I think most families get it. With school, and we've had some that have said, schools should never know whether my child's vaccinated or not. And the reality is we do, because it's required by law that students have certain vaccines and then they turn those into the district. And you think about, and you were instrumental in over-the-counter and reviewing our prescribed medicine policies. We have so many of those kinds of things. We probably distribute, probably next to Wood County Hospital, we're probably second in the county in terms of distribution of medicine on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And so schools already have a lot of information. Those doctor's notes that you send in with your child for appointments. So schools are very much involved in students' health and well-being and are very, very protective of that information because we have that and much more. So this is information that we're used to dealing with. We take it very seriously. So we'll wait to see what comes of it and how we're going to handle it in the future.
Okay, anything else, Mr. Hostler?
I think that is it.
Okay, thank you. It moves us to item 7, the Treasury Report, and Mrs. Wells?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Pullman. On the April financials, just want to touch briefly because we'll hit them harder when we go into our 5-year forecast. We had a good month ending in April with our cash balance of ending well versus what we've had. You'll notice, though, on revenues as they go up and expenses, you'll see this higher than previous financial month-end reports that you've seen. The reason being is because of the trifecta and what we'll speak about on the 5-year forecast. Payroll is running steady. However, remember this month was still skewed due to the 3 pays in April versus a prior year with 2. And next year we'll be running on a truer level of figures when we go to 24 pays. On our ending cash balance graph, you'll see that we're doing real well here. We're doing well compared to other years, the prior ones. Things are looking up for Perrysburg. Then you have your outstanding check register and your FinSum. Are there any questions?
He just got it up on the screen there, so.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's,
Any questions? We're going to go to the 5-year forecast here shortly.
yeah, you have to go in further in depth.
Yes, yes, If there are no other questions, I have a motion to accept the April Treasury Report.
Second. Oh,
Go ahead.
I yield to Mrs. Downs.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bennington? Yes. Mrs. Downs?
Yes.
Mrs. Eubank?
Yes.
Ms. Larimer?
Yes.
Mr. Pullman?
Yes. Thank you. Motion passes. And now we'll go to the 5-year forecast, Mrs. Wells. 7-2.
This report follows our May assumptions that we have to file for the state guidelines. We file twice a year for our 5-year forecast. These numbers here are going to reflect as we go in. We're going to start talking about revenues. The screen here that you're going to see, this shows revenues and expenses combined. You'll see where our revenues end on the top of the screen, expenses at the bottom. But then I'd like to go ahead and, for the next slide, Mr. Husser, we're going to break down our main revenues that generate into the school district. Our main drives are local share taxes, ODE funding, and income tax. And you'll see this year we had a trifecta, which is as a result of the triennial update, where real estate taxes, tangible personal property taxes, and OSDI has come in for our figures for revenue, and you're going to see that they're all up. Remember that when the when the levies were passed, 2020 effective pay 2021. So that's why we're seeing this increase now going forward for 21, 22. All of them are up, and construction is up, school tax is up, real estate for local shares are up. these are our main drives for our school district funding, and we'll touch base on that on our next slide when you could see the overall revenues. We're going to go on then the next one. For real estate, this is the triennial update that took place in 2020, excuse me. And this, like I said, the effect shows up 21-22 for payments. You'll see the increase from the levy, the new construction, and then the incremental that begins in January 2021. We'll have the reappraisal coming up then in 2023, pay 2024. You'll see those numbers reflect in changes in the next upcoming years when we hit the reappraisal. But everything so far is looking well as far for revenue coming into Perrysburg. Our next slide will show the Ohio School District income tax. You'll see a fluctuation there because of, it was a kind of a moving target, as we say, with the changes in the filing deadlines for taxes. Every time that's moved or shifted, the income that comes into the district then for the revenue is shifted. So you'll see the rise and fall on that comparable to other years. Next year, we should be back on track, and we'll go back to on the 4% growth projection going forward. When we look at our expenses, you're going to see that for the district, we have looking at to the future for the entire forecast. Things are going to be well for Perrysburg if we stay on task and taskmaster. Everything, we have salaries that we have projected. We've built in for the next 5 years on the forecast to accommodate for growth for new staffing. Benefits will always increase. That also goes up because you include new staff. We've had that built into the salaries. Purchase services, you'll see that increase this year. Supplies, due to COVID and other issues that, you know, when things are needed for the district. Your capital expenditure for new equipment, you're going to see that is increased from the prior year. That's for our bus lease. Other expenses, you'll see that decrease. It's always when bills get paid off, your expenses go down, your basket gets empty, and sure enough, something will come along in the future. So we'll just plan accordingly when the basket gets full again. And then we're looking into a transfer out fund for severances. It's, can be comparable to a personal savings account. You save for a rainy day. We would like to see, if possible, to set money aside for when severances come due to pay out for our retirees that have given their service to the district. When we invest like that and set money aside, the general fund doesn't take a hard hit when we pay out the large amount, when we pay severances, and sometimes those can hit the general fund account pretty hard. But if we tuck our money away and plan accordingly and save well, it'll help our general fund balance off overall.
Makes sense.
I broke down on another slide here for expenses that you can see. Salaries and benefits, again, they're always going to be one of the driving forces for an expense for a school district. They will continue to rise as a district continues to grow. So we always have to plan accordingly for those. Purchase services. You're going to see that increase is led by a large number due to online enrollment for other schools. I commend the district for the PVA that was offered for the program. We're a brick and mortar school. However, I believe Perrysburg did very well in supplanting that for our students and giving them that offer. However, some parents chose other options, and that will affect things for us as far as expenses.
Yeah, and I think that the number of students who are going to like all virtual online charter schools, that seemed to be an increase across the state. So it wasn't just a Perrysburg thing, but, you know, in hearing from other, you know, school districts and state officials, you know, Kelly was pointing that out to us, you know, with our data, and that's in line with what we're hearing from across the state. So that's a great point. So thank you.
Supplies, you'll see usually supplies will increase. We've had a fluctuation and an increase for supplies to get us through the times when we hit the trenches, but we've pulled through, and we'll keep an eye on that to keep that in line. Your capital expenditure, again, that reflects the bus lease. And then the transfers out again. That's where we hope to, if we collaborate and talk about it and come to a conclusion, maybe if in a little savings account to the side for severances to drive help the district. This is a great slide here, the next one for our days cash. You're going to see where we ended fiscal year 20. Your true day cash at 19 days. That means we went 19 days on our true cash balance. That's one payroll. That's a half a month. And it looks good going out for the next 5 years. Fiscal year 21, as we end, we can go a month. And we're making strides to get there. And this is one thing that you have to commend each and every one of the people involved that work hard for the district, from the superintendent, the treasurer, the board, the employees, the taxpayers, to make this possible for Perrysburg.
And when we met to review this, I know Mrs. Harrington, Mrs. Wells talked about, and a lot of people lose sight of that, and you just mentioned it, how there's times in the school year where the state aid payments don't come until, several, a month, 6 weeks. Sometimes real estate, we've all heard about how real estate collections, we're waiting for the real estate. We've heard Pam talk about that. We have payroll that comes up, and having cash on hand to be able to make payroll I think most people think that's pretty important. So to be able to cover that. So having cash on hand, these true days cash, allows us to not borrow, because a lot of districts that don't have a cash balance to cover that have to borrow, and that costs money. So this building up is really just giving us the ability to pay for payroll during those times where the state payment isn't due or they're behind with giving us local property taxes. So this is really a credit to Mrs. Harrington and Mrs. Wells in terms of where we are today and where we hope to be.
Particularly if you consider the growth projections for our student enrollment, kind of like a hockey stick rather than that.
Right.
Too. So
right.
That is encouraging to see.
In the 10 days, and we appreciate that because, or I'm sorry, moving from where they are 19 to 34, but with the enrollment, this accounts for that growth. So they folded that into this estimate. So to your point, that growth is something that we are looking at.
Part of the conversations we've had on the operating committees and other committees you all served on, when the administrators or people would talk about, or the maintenance folks would talk about doing a project, and they would say that we got this bid, we saved $20,000, or we saved this percentage, also fiscally sound with what their decisions are when they decide upon doing things. And that all helps.
Yeah, definitely.
Remember with the 5-year forecast, then, this is our projection, that we're going to submit with the best numbers that we've had, that we've ran from the system and compiled and put together as far as our revenue, expenses, and where the district is headed. Again, it's a moving target. A lot of things can affect it at any day, any moment. Who would have thought COVID came last year and did what it did?
That's in the power of the assumptions. The Finance Committee spent 2 hours looking at this 5-year forecast. Base it off of, that's why Kelly led with kind of where we at through April, and kind of commending, the power of the assumptions, the accuracy of the assumptions that were used in last year's. There was all kinds of uncertainty. If you remember, we were talking about what are going to be real estate default rates, what are going to be, levels of unemployment to impact income tax lines. We took some nice conservative assumptions and we did better than those. So, always appreciate the work Pam and Kelly do to reach out and really establish those strong assumptions. The biggest one, and I guess that's what this slide is up here, so I won't step on the slide because Tom and Kelly know a lot more about it. But still the big unknown. The big unknown in this 5-year forecast is what the state foundation giving will be, or what that amount is. Kelly and Pam are in a position to try and put together a budget over 5 years, and I don't even know what one of the larger line items is yet. They won't know for a couple of months. comments on the assumption of, on some of the expenses. I think primarily if you keyed in on that benefits plus salary is 83%, kind of right in line with a benchmark this board set years ago to try and keep that between 80-85%. So, again, managing the growth of this district, the need for more teachers while still keeping the benefits and salary expenses, in line. So, and then the last thing, kind of the new thing that I just wanted to comment on that I heard Kelly say is this idea of a severance rainy day fund is just an outstanding idea, to build up that bank reserve to get ready for those expenses that will be coming our way here.
Absolutely. And
I just want to give I guess that's my finance committee report right there. Those are the conversations we had in the marathon session last week.
That's great. And you're right, Eric. The severance on a rainy day fund, what I've seen in the past, it's historic. It comes in waves. You can have a year of retirement payouts for severances running approximately $40,000 to $50,000. You can have a wave of severance hitting your cash operating account, $200,000 easily, depending on how many retired veterans are leaving us in severance package payouts. So we just want to be prepared then. To wrap it up, for the new budget with school funding, it's an honor to work for Perrysburg. I commend Mr. Hostler for everything that he does to fight for fair school funding. It's a huge impact on our revenue for a district, and unfortunately, it is not fair. But with his voice and everyone's support, maybe we can get there someday. We'll never give up that fight. So thank you very much, Mr. Hostler, for fighting for fair school funding. And if you can touch what might be coming forth, I'd like for you to share with us, because this does impact our 5-year forecast and our funding for school districts.
Right, so it's interesting because the state requires school districts to have a 5-year forecast. So Mrs. Harrington, Mrs. Wells have been busy putting together the presentation and looking into their crystal ball. And the state of Ohio only is responsible for providing 2 years of the budget at a time. So, Kelly's had a very good crystal ball, I think, to be able to look into the future and predict what might happen. With the current budget, right now, so the governor sends his budget to the Ohio House, and then they take a look at it. They turned it into a House bill, which is House Bill 110, and then they passed it, and it passed by a very large margin. And in that House bill was the school funding bill, the Fair School Funding Bill. So last year, the House passed the Fair School Funding Plan 89-7, so by a bipartisan large vote. And then it went to the Senate and died. It never made it into a hearing. So they took that same bill and then they dropped it into the budget, because that's kind of what the Senate was saying, is this is really a budget item. It shouldn't be standalone. So they put it in House Bill 110. So House Bill 110 is now in the Senate, and they are debating what to do with that. So the Senate will introduce amendments here in the next week. They'll make some changes to things, and they will pass a budget. So now you're going to have a Senate budget that is different from the House budget. And then when that happens, they put together a conference committee with representatives from both the House and the Senate and both caucuses to iron out, what has to happen. And so that's probably where the state funding will be answered, is sometime between probably the second and third week in June in a conference committee, which is not a public debate. So it's kind of behind the scenes. And that's probably where things will get ironed out. So I do think that there is an interest in trying to do something. I don't know if it'll be the whole budget plan that we've seen. We have the printouts of what it could mean for Perrysburg with the additional revenue, but it's probably going to be pieces of that. But we're hopeful that it'll be more than just pieces, but it's just really too difficult to tell. So the House is very supportive. Representative Gambari, that's a big deal to have that kind of a vote, 89-7. And people applauded after they passed that. I mean, it was a pretty interesting moment in Ohio, and so that's to be commended. The Senate's a little different, focus. So yeah, that's where we are. So we'll know more, and those are big pieces. Question marks.
Thank you, Mr. Hostler. Do we have any questions for the 5-year forecast or of the 5-year forecast for Kelly?
Just a quick question. Tom, isn't there a deadline that the Senate has to, or is the deadline on the Senate, or is the deadline on the joint getting it back to DeWine?
Right, yeah, I should have mentioned that. So July 1st is when it has to be passed by law. They have to have a budget in place beginning on July 1. Except when they don't want to, which was the last biennium budget, when they passed an extension, if you recall. So we were into the almost the second week of July 2 years ago, and we still didn't know. And that resulted in no foundation increase, so we were frozen. Didn't matter how many new students we were getting, we were frozen, and the governor took his success and wellness funds outside the formula and then sent that to districts to use. And so we're coming off of 2 years of no increase in the foundation in Ohio. And then we have success and wellness funds, which were sent to districts based on their Title I eligibility. So Perrysburg got a lower share based on that. So.
Well, those had a lot of restrictions on them too, though, right, as to how they could be used?
There were some restrictions. And I think the Treasurer's Office did a great job of kind of navigating how to, they put out bulletins, this is how you ought to spend these funds, and we followed those. There was the ability to be able to supplant some of those dollars. So districts that were fast growing in the state, no new revenue, looked at, putting those dollars toward those approved expenditures to free up dollars to hire new teachers and those kinds of things. So it wasn't like this is new money and you have to spend it on new programming. A lot of districts were able to replenish what they were already spending those funds on. But there was a lot of record keeping that had to go on in the Treasurer's Office. They did a great job of keeping it straight. So.
Anybody else? Questions?
I have one. So how did you come to the 300,000 for the transfers out? How did you get to that number?
When you look at a severance fund, you have to think for the worst. Because if you have a wave that hits 1 year, it could take that money and wipe it out in 1 year. If we didn't have it, and if we were in a tight situation to make a payroll when it's first or second of a month, you want to make sure that that is all taken care of and you have the funds to pay forward for all of it, not just payroll, but for severance. And we thought it was a comparable base because that number will continuously grow. Because when our longevity teachers get higher in the salary schedules and their severance days, build up sick days, et cetera, that's what drives that number up each year. And again, if you just want to make sure that you have it tucked away, it can be a good start, I would feel, for a severance fund.
It just came out of the general fund before. There was no placeholder for it, correct?
Absolutely.
Now there's going to be a placeholder for it.
Yeah, we've never had any money set aside, like Tom said, for a rainy day.
So I think they can take a look at the seniority of staff and looking at the seniority of staff and who might be eligible. You're never 100% sure who's going to go, but there are some things that you can look at. And just like classes, sometimes there's bigger classes, sometimes there's bigger groups that are eligible to retire. So knowing where those are and setting money aside each year for that purpose, I think is what was the intent.
Yeah, I mean, those are the key assumptions, kind of projected retirement dates and severance amounts. It won't be $300,000 a year every year.
Right. And that could change after.
Absolutely.
You keep an eye on it and adjust it.
Absolutely.
I just wondered how you got to the 300. Thank you.
It was a comparison that Mrs. Harrington and I put together based on the history of run-in payroll in my prior district and seeing what severance payout if a wave year hits for a district, and making sure that we're prepared for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this year is probably a big year because of the number of retirees that we have. in the
Yeah,
district
this year is a big year. And I think I looked once, I think a couple of years out, there'll be as well. So I'm glad that's on there now. I think that's a great step moving in the right direction to have that earmarked.
Thank you.
I think so too. Really good idea.
Well, if there aren't any more questions, we'll take a motion to accept the 5-year forecast.
Second.
I'm sorry, who was
Second,
first?
any other discussion? Roll call, please. First was Eric, second was Sue.
Thank you. Mr. Bennington? Yes. Ms. Larimer?
Yes.
Mrs. Downs?
Yes.
Mrs. Eubank?
Yes.
Mr. Pullman?
Yes, motion carries.
We get to do it again in October, right?
Yes, sir. We got one more to go this year.
Okay, it takes us to the board committees and discussion, and we'll start with the Personnel Committee. And Mrs. Downs, anything you want to report?
They're just really busy with interviews. It's that hiring time.
And I will add to the committee report there that as Ms. Johnson is interviewing, like Gretchen says, to date, we have 5.5 new teachers hired, but we have actually had 22 positions completed, either moved from one position to another or transferred from one place to another, retired, reassigned, or what have you. So 22 positions completed. We still are within the budget of 8 teachers being hired. So I think that's, again, another sign of how our district administrators are looking toward keeping the costs down as best they can in a growing district. Anything else, Mrs. Downs?
No?
Okay, how about looking at the Pupil Services report? I guess we can go with Mrs.
Pupil
Eubank.
Services, we had a long meeting this morning highlighting the 504 program. And 504 is medical, accommodating medical needs is what it is. And it is really a complex thing. And I asked if we could possibly have at one of the work sessions, really dive into that, because it's really a complicated area, and I'm not sure that we really understand it. So they gave a wonderful presentation this morning, and I want you all to hear it.
Okay.
Look forward to it.
All right.
Great.
Duly noted. Mr. Hostler,
Yeah.
I could
Yep.
look at it. Okay. Okay, Mrs. Eubank, anything you want to add to that?
No.
Okay, let's move right along to the T&L update.
Teaching and learning. There's a thing called One Plan, and it is a culmination of a lot of input and a lot of work to really to hone down one plan for your instruction. It's like a strategic plan, but it's just covering the instructional piece. We really want to dive more into what that is and how it got there, and eventually we will have to have, because our 2020 strategic plan is in need of further review. So that's what, that was the big thing that I saw that I thought was of concern to all of us, is the one plan. That was a state requirement that we do that and submit it, and we did do it and we did submit it. So.
Okay, anything to add to that?
No, those meetings are very detailed, and everything's really covered here on the detailed review of what it's discussed. So
It's curriculum is pretty heavy stuff. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
changes.
It is.
It is, definitely.
Or maybe it's Mr. Schwartzmiller, I'm not sure if it's.
Yeah. Definitely
Okay.
detailed.
The one plan is a tremendous amount of work and planning, and I know Mr. Schwartzmiller, Mr. Sarnes have done a really good job of deciphering what this means and then putting a plan together, I think, to really make a difference in the classroom. And that's why we have these plans ultimately, is to touch that classroom. We talked about the strategic planning, and we had Vision 2020, and it's 2021. So now we're moving into the next phase of that, beginning that planning. This would be one of the pillars or one of the things that would be part of that plan. And so we've got a great head start on the academic side because of their hard work. So it's a good place to start. That this is very important data for us. So.
Okay, Mr. Bennington, anything on Penna?
Oh, wrapping up the year, Penna. Yeah, great things happening over there. Got to review a laundry list of awards that our student residents have won over there, and it was lengthy and commendable. Recognition ceremonies are ongoing. So, you know, just a lot of celebration of finishing a VOTEC year in a pandemic, socially distanced, almost remote environment. And then talking about next year. And I think it was brought up again, nowhere on next year's calendar are the words remote learning or hybrid schedule. So it was a productive, kind of a good end of the year meeting.
Thank you, Eric. How about the operations, Mrs. Larimer?
One thing that I think was pretty interesting, and I don't want you to miss it on James's notes there, is that the free lunch program is going to be extended for next year. Oh. How does that affect us? This year, Lila feels that we're breaking even, which is unusual because normally our food service does really well. But because participation is going up and because they're going to be doing the free lunch thing next year, she thinks that that's going to provide a really good financial outlook for the food service programs. So she's, you know, crunching numbers like she does, and I think that's really kind of an interesting thing that's happening for her department because there's not a lot of wiggle room there. And she always manages to knock it out of the park. You notice that we're getting a new phone system throughout the district, and they're going to start installing that after the secretaries leave so that they don't have anything else more to deal with. And then James, he was hot and rocking because we're getting new lockers. We're doing the portables are beginning the second week of June. There's changes going on in the junior high girls' locker room. The Commodore, I guess I've never looked at it carefully enough. Apparently we have a steeple that's not in healthy shape. So all the things that you learn in operations. So a lot of that is going to be taken care of with TIF. So that's kind of nice. They're a little bit concerned about boiler systems and how they're going to update boiler systems and maybe possibly even getting rid of boiler systems and doing something a little bit better. So they're constantly looking. We're getting roofs at Frank and Woodland at the portable. The baseball turf, we already saw some information about that. And once again, they're knocking around $20,000 off of a roofing project due to a special program called Turnkey that is going to keep the cost of that down $20,000. It wouldn't be an operations meeting if they didn't show us, you know, a 5 or 6 digit figure that they're knocking down the cost of. But I do have a question because it was brought up to me today, and I don't know, Tom or Ray, if you know this. The bids that were coming in for as James says, it always takes me a second to catch on to what he's talking about, the hack center. I'm saying, what's a hack center? I think fur balls when I hear the word hack. The Huskisson Athletic Center. We're getting bids for that, right, to do the second floor. All right, so somebody called me today, and they wanted to know what Miller Diversified's point was in being involved in that. Wouldn't the bids just go to our operations guy, which I told them was James? Why is it being filtered through Miller Diversified? And I thought they had, as much as Tom loves analogies, I thought they had a really good analogy. It was like having a babysitter come to your house and then hiring an au pair. And I said, okay, all right. And since I was in, it didn't strike me, I didn't catch that really, that Miller Diversified was involved in this bidding thing. I know that the bids went to James, so why do you get the bids at Miller? Why, how are they involved and why are they involved at that particular point?
I'll have to check on this particular situation and just see what the, what the bid process was and where they are relative to that. Miller Diversified, and I would consider them very similar to the relationship we have with the collaborative, the architect firm that we use. The architects are folks that, will look at schematics and drawings and help prepare those for bids. One of the things they had to look at was the elevator, as part of the bid. So your architect comes in and does that. There are certain elements of those projects that the sophistication of what is needed might exceed our staff, but we don't need necessarily an architect and to pay those fees to have them prepare the bids. And I think that's where Miller oftentimes they fill that void. So we've used them as consultants on different things to help us with some different projects that exceed sometimes our limitations, like a construction manager.
Okay.
So how
they're
that.
a second set of eyes, so to speak.
Yes.
Because I noticed in the bid, there was an article in the Messenger Journal that explained I think it was the Messenger, excuse me, Roger, if it was in the Sentinel, I'm not sure which paper it was in, but that explained the bidding process and the fact that they even had like a meeting for contractors to go to and to hear what was needed and all of that so that they would understand what they were having to bid on. I thought, well, that was kind of cool. So then they're not shooting in the dark and you've got all these random bids coming in there. It's more targeted. That made sense to me. But it also seemed very detailed in what this article was explaining of the types of things that they were doing. And I wondered if that's what they were doing. Miller being, that's their life. And not necessarily James, but it did. I could see the point where they thought or felt that this maybe was a double pay type of thing, but that you think that that's what it was.
Yeah, I don't think it's, I think, let me find out in terms of this specific bid and I can report back to the board and we can give an update.
Okay.
With bids, I mean, we work so closely with the architects and Miller in terms of trying to come up with a bid package that is really going to save the district money. So I guess I would probably push back on the double pay because the analogy of the hiring a babysitter when you have a nanny kind of a thing. So I think this is more of, we really want to put out a big package that is going to get the greatest amount of work for the lowest cost, and having those experts who do that for a living go through and help put those out, make sure that we're not missing anything, or writing alternatives that they know will work to maybe bring in a lower cost. So I know in past bids, Miller's been really good with those kinds of things. Like, okay, architects draw things up this way, no offense to architects, but they design it in a way for different functions, and Miller will come back and look at those and say, functionality, you could do it this, and this, and it saves us a lot of money. So that's, that's been my experience, but let me check on the situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, anything else with operations? Okay. We'll let the last committee here, Pupil Services. Mrs. Eubank, anything to report, or Mrs. Downs?
We talked about that.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, you did?
That was the Yeah.
Oh, okay.
was
I
the
thought it was the
first one.
recovery
Thank you.
plan. The recovery plan, is that something that's right on target that they talked about?
We did not talk about that today.
Okay. All right. I think that takes, anybody else have anything to report in committees? It takes us through the committee reports. Let's go look at items number 9, consent agenda would be 10 through 14. April board minutes, resignations, a lot of contracts here that we have to approve. And anything else you see there through 14 you have questions about?
Well, before we have questions, shouldn't we make the motion?
Sure.
Okay, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
Second? All right. Any questions on the consent agenda? Not? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Bennington?
Yes.
Mrs. Eubank?
Yes.
Ms. Larimer?
Yes.
Mr. Pullman?
Yes.
Same like Sue, I'm gonna have to look up and see where the steeple is. It was news to me when I saw that.
I think the building turns 90 this fall.
Wow.
Really? Oh, we should have a party.
Oh?
I was going to say, having gone here as a student, I knew exactly where it was.
I'd like to reach out and thank Mr. Hostler, Kelly Eubank, and Brooke Price today for the extended effort they went to above and beyond to get the one bus driver on the agenda for us tonight. I worked with Courtney Parr today, and I told her, I said, I understand. We're in a crisis shortage for bus drivers. So thank you, each and every one of you, for voting on that and supporting us as we try to obtain and retain as many bus drivers as we can. So
I
thank
think
you
we
to
lost
everyone.
4, we gained 4. I think now we gain 5, right? So, lost 4 drivers, gained 5 drivers. That's a good thing. 1 plus. Okay, we're looking at item 15.1. It's certified the continuing contracts, which the principals talked about today. Got a motion to accept?
So moved?
Second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bennington?
Yes.
Mrs. Eubank?
Yes.
Mrs. Downs?
Yes.
Ms. Larimer?
Yes.
Mr. Pullman?
Yes. Motion carries. Board discussion. Any new business? I'll just bring up the graduation this Saturday. You have a packet there with parking and directions, what have you. I will bring up, and you can talk to me later if you like, or now, Mr. Short, Dr. Short and I did have a conversation Friday about the procedure. The board, as we participated in the past, not last year, but before that, where we'd pass out the diplomas. But in light of trying to make things less contact and less people shaking hands, what have you, our discussion was that the board would certainly be present, but not to pass out the diplomas. Any discussion, any questions on that? Any concerns? Mrs. Downs?
I think it's a bad idea. I don't think that we should shake hands with the students, but I think that is one of the privileges of being on the board, is to hand out those diplomas. We approve those diplomas. I just think that we should be involved.
I kind of agree. I loved how it went last year. I really did. I thought that was talk about innovation. That was outstanding. And Gretchen, your parade of portraits was just stunning. But yeah, we were there in shifts, but we still passed out the diplomas. I think if we just sat there for 3 hours, 4 hours, it would almost look wrong. It would look silly.
I don't think we passed out the diploma. I didn't pass anything. I stood there. I think Deb Drew handed it to I didn't touch anything.
Put them on a table, and then they came and picked it up from the table. So.
I just remember constantly fixing the tape on the floor.
Yeah, I didn't touch the
between
diploma.
students.
Anybody else have a comment on graduation?
No.
Okay, well, I'll talk to Mr. Short, Dr. Short again, but for me, I'm good with what he feels works for him, because he's the one planning it, and he's the one that knows all the behind the scenes. If you would like to call and have a conversation, certainly you can do that. But in our conversation, it made sense to me at the time on Friday that I could stay back and let him get what he needs to get done on that stage for the reasons that he stated to me on Friday. So I didn't take notes. I mean, I just, in my mind, thought, you know what, it makes sense to me. So I'm okay with being there, but not necessarily having to get in the way or pass out the diploma. But please feel free to talk to Dr. Short. Let me know before, what is today, Monday?
Well, I think it's only fair play, don't you? I mean, we're the ones who's saying that we should be handing out diplomas. If we didn't listen to him, he won't listen to us. It seems, seems fair.
I very seldom disagree with Mike Short, but on this case, I strongly disagree. And one of the reasons I disagree is because my grandson is graduating.
Well, now that's one special deal. You can hand that diploma to your grandson. That's what we did talk about.
Well, I don't think that's very fair to the rest of the board.
I say it's fair. It's
Oh,
okay.
I do have a comment on that. That's very fair. Whatever we do, that needs to happen.
That needs to happen, yes, yes.
How about I talk with Ray and Dr. Short, and then let's just,
Yeah, that's,
heard feedback.
yeah, that's fair.
Mr. Pullman, if that's okay, and.
Yep, sounds good.
I saw that there was, or is this it? Because I haven't even looked at this. Is this the graduation stuff?
Directions,
this for-
directions and a parking pass.
Oh, thank you. Because I've never been to the Huntington Center, so it's like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to get there.
Okay, anything else, board discussion? Okay, I'm going off of 3 agendas here, one that was revised and one that I have here. Okay, well, that takes us to 18.1, which is going to be the executive session, which would be for the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, or promotion, demotion, or compensation of an employee or an official. At this time, can I have a motion to go to an executive session?
So moved?
Second?
Roll call, please.
Ms. Larimer?
Yes?
Mr. Bennington?
Yes.
Mrs. Downs?
Yes.
Mrs. Eubank?
Yes.
Mr. Pullman?
Yes, and I don't see any further action taking place once we come back to the public session. So at this point, we'll be going to executive session.
I just want to say, I have to do my sister's